So today I've got some new models that I'm going to show you how I'm going to be painting these type of models. And the first model I'm going to be painting is just a simple Cadian from the Cadian Command Squad. And I'm going to explain how I'm going to paint this as accurately as I can with the limited paints I have. So for the first step of painting this Cadian, I am going to be using Stidor paints as well. So first I'm going to use a mix of these Corax white along with whatever colour this is, a sort of dark sand colour. Now I'm going to get a more lighter shade. Now that I've mixed the paint together, I'm just going to apply this where most of it can go, because it gives off that sort of sand coloured effect that you get on most the box art of Cadians. Now that the Cadian has got most of the sand colour on him, we can let that dry, and if it looks similar to like this, you can go and base coat it again the same colour. But I'm going to do that once this is dried, and while it's drying, I've left mainly the chain sword untouched. So with a mix, not with a mix, with lead belcher and Abaddon black, I'm going to paint this chainsword. Don't be too bothered if some of the paint gets on the chainsword when you do the teeth, because you can always correct that after. Now that the original paint is dried, you can just go over it and correct any mistakes, or make it look a bit neater, and the colour can stand out more. we want to be a bit neater with this, as after this we can start marking up some of the parts in green. Now that we have the lighter colour out the way, we can start marking up the shoulder pads and helmets and some of the green stuff on green armour on this model with Elysian green. This isn't going to be the actual green we're going to be using, this is just going to be where we want to mark out. Just going to mark there. There. Helmet's going to be green. We've got a couple of grenades. Just going to mark them up. And get all the fine details on there. Even though I won't be able to see that, we can still mark that. Now we wait for that, for the green to dry before continuing on to the next step. Now that it's dry, we can continue on to painting the lasgun with Abaddon Black and Red Belcher. I don't know if it's a lasgun, I don't really play Cadians. So, and I am painting this from memory as well, so if there's any mistakes, I doubt I'd find it. And this Cadian has a gas mask, so I just want to just make that a bit darker and wait for that to dry. While waiting for that to dry, we're gonna go over all the green with a warp stone glow and just thin that out. And once we've painted the shoulder pads, we can begin to paint all the things we've base coated green. I would normally use a dark green, but because we don't have this, well, no, because I don't have any dark green, I'm gonna have to use Warpstone Glow, which is a fine alternative, and I think looks very closely, and it's the closest green I've got to the box art. You can mix it in with Abaddon Black, but every time I've done that I don't get a good result, so until this I'm going to skip. Just now that we have this end result, I can show you one way of getting it darker. If you're happy leaving it like this is fine, but personally I would use a shade like Bealtone Green, and then I'd put it over the green areas. It's a shade, so I don't use this often, so hopefully we get a sort of good result. Yeah, as we can see from that shoulder pad, we're already starting to get a sort of good effect from it. Now I'm just dabbing it on and letting it fill. I don't want to get too much shade though. That's when it starts to become a problem. Shade will just make it a bit darker, and we wait for this shade to dry, which would normally take about 6 or so minutes, and now we wait for that to dry. Now that the shade is dried or nearly dried, we can begin to paint some of the straps and the boots on this soldier. Still using what we mixed with the white to get the base coat. We're gonna just use this normally, a bit thin down if you can. And we're just gonna paint the boots. Now that we've got the boots, I'm going to paint all the straps. get onto the back when we can. Make it solid. We wait for that to dry. Now that it's dry, we can begin clearing up some mistakes on the gun, the weapons, and the back. Now with little left to do on this cadian, first we're just going to finish off the backpack using the same sort of colour we already had. We're going to start paint. I'm going to paint, base coat the back. We're going to make sure nice and thin so we can see the details more clearly. And we don't want to mess up anything we've already painted. I'm just going to paint that gun for now. And after this, while we wait for that to dry, we're just going to finish up the last few things with lead belcher, and we're going to paint the gun, the gas mask, and the belt. I'd recommend starting with the belt first, as the belt seems to be forgotten. And coil on this gun, just going to be dab a load of lead belch on there. I'm just going to skin the teeth off. No matter whether you get lead belcher on here, and the gas mask. Just gonna paint the handle, the wire, with that sorted, we're going to be shading down the model with Agrax Earthshade. Seems to be already working. You just want to slap along on it. Because it'll give it that worn down look, like the cadians normally do. Now just put it on the gun. There is a bit missing there, but when you're playing with the model, I doubt anyone would notice, so. And we wait for that shade to dry. And before we finish the model, we're just going to grab any gold sort of colour, like Balthasar gold or whatever gold colour you've got. Just going to grab a tiny bit, and we're going to thinned it down too much. And as best as you can, just paint that little symbol. Now, with the model completed, and with everything nearly dry, you can attach this to your unit, and the terrain on the model is your choice. I'm not putting any on mine, even though it's already got a crater, because I prefer to do the terrain of my units all at once. And I've got 4 more cadians that I need painting, so. And I only really got these cadians just for a painting guide, so hopefully you'd be able to use this. If this helps in any way, then that's why I'm posting it, along for my fun. See you next time on the next model I paint.